Okay, guys, apologies. I'm not too sure what happened there, but I thought I was live. So we'll do this again. Apologies. Everyone on Zoom, switch over to the live stream. I'm just going to mute the Zoom channel. So yeah, apologies guys. I just thought I did the breakdown. Well, I did do the 10-minute breakdown, but it wasn't live on YouTube for some strange reason. So still getting used to the live stream. I do apologise. It looks like it is running now, so I'm just going to continue with what I was. Yeah, I'm going to continue with what I was discussing. Just want to make sure these are not running concurrently. Okay, so very frustrating because I just basically broke all that down. Okay, right, let's do it again. So, very, very annoying. Okay, let's, there's a big echo. Bear with me, sorry.
Is that better? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Is that any better? That should have fixed it. Perfect. Again, yeah, apologies guys. I did the breakdown, but it wasn't live on OBS for whatever. I don't know. Okay, just going to break this down as quickly as possible, just because I feel like I've already done this. So, we haven't really gone anywhere much this week. I'm just going to break down where we are, and the zones that I have on my screen are pretty much the exact same from Tuesday this week. Those levels are, you'll see here, these are the levels that we've been in all week. I put a vertical line on here earlier just to mark out where we have been this entire week. If I just put Monday on here, you can see we bounced from the 61.8 on Tuesday where we went long, and yesterday we came down to that same exact level. So this was Tuesday's long. The reason I didn't take yesterday's long is because we pierced the 61.8 on Tuesday, showing me that potentially trend does break, and that's why I took it on Tuesday as that lower high, but did not want to take it yesterday. Yesterday we did run. We have ran mostly on the overnight session to do with Trump and UK news, I think, coming out today. And obviously we had FOMC yesterday, which did give us a bit of consolidation chop at that 61.8, and we did come up all the way back up into my weekly resistance until proven otherwise. That is the 2 negative 23s and the negative 100 from the extensions which are on my screen. I just deleted all of this and redid it so you guys could see where I got these extensions from. I know we've already broken it down extensively, but if there is anyone watching this on YouTube that isn't from the Discord, they won't know. So basically, again, I'll break it down on here live so you can see. This was the first extension that has basically controlled the whole series up. And it's important because this is the move that basically took us all the way up 21% from those lows. And this was a 79% fade long. This is your 79. This is your completion at the 23. 62 and negative 100. So full, when I say full negative 100 completions, that is what I mean. The lower high and the full completion, and now you can see we are back up into those highs. So again, apologies if I'm not doing anything, but as I said on when I thought I was recording, there isn't much to do, and I would much rather not take a trade in less ideal situations. So yeah, that's basically what I was breaking down a second ago. But once we went into that extension, we traded a same anchor new high, which you can see. I'm going to keep this on my screen just so you can see the importance of these two levels. You can see we traded the 50, never broke the 61.8. Again, trend is intact. You can see this was valid. And again, what does it do? Completes the 23, completes the 23, stuck at that zone. Now, if we put the indicators on, we'll be able to see the ATRs. And if we go down to a 30-minute time frame, you will see there is another extension in here, which goes back all the way to this extension here. This trades a halfway back, and it trades on the 24th of April on the overnight session, and we go into the negative 23. Here, we complete. I'm just going to get rid of all these extensions. You know what they are, all those arrows. We complete and we go into a same anchor new high. The same anchor new high trades the 38. And again, what does that do? That completes the negative 23 into this zone, into this zone, into this zone. And we have not done much from there onwards. So again, that's why I'm not really doing anything. The extension that I've had on my screen all week is, of course, from that pivot low, and that is that halfway back. That halfway back traded, put it on here, traded yesterday. That was like the FOMC low, which I outlined in the room once that traded at 690s. Now, the extension that I've been paying attention most of this week is actually from these two ATR bars to the upside. Not something I would trade all the time, but when your extensions are when price is so extended from extensions, you have to be a little bit more, I guess, creative with your extensions. And that's why I drew from those two ATR bars to the upside. Why? Well, technically, it did actually form a traditional, traded the 50, completed the negative 23. And again, this is absolutely brilliant precision. 50 into the 23, a 6R trade, and again, same anchor new high, goes into the 61.8. We trade that to the long side on Tuesday, comes back down there on Wednesday, and on the overnight session, we have had that push on that FOMC news and Trump tariff news with the UK, back into that negative 100, which we sold off from on Friday. So again, there's not really much for me to do in this area, and it's solely because I know where we are from an extension point of view and an oversold point of view. We can stay oversold for a long time. However, extensions will form where they provide deeper discount. That makes sense from a risk to reward point of view. Right now, we are basically at where we started the week. Again, haven't really done much. We've just had an under, potentially back over, and maybe we come down into a traditional at some point. The only real trade that I was wanting this week is this same anchor new high, which it hasn't traded. I wanted that 487s and even, potentially back down to 19,240s. This is why I make the point of I don't know if those levels are going to get bid, and I don't short anticipating those levels to get sold into. All I know is if they do trade, I will trade them to the long side. I never know if they're going to trade, hence I will not short into that level, but if they do trade, I will take a long. Now, of course, if they don't trade, all you have to do is wait for deeper extensions to form, which is what we had yesterday, and that would come from that same anchor new low 38, and we have traded a full halfway back. Now, I would like to actually see this complete into 20,557, and then I would draw a 50 to 50, and that would probably line up with thereabouts the weekly open just under, right? And again, I don't know if that's going to happen, but there really isn't much for me to do in this zone. And again, for anyone that is new, all I can do is, sort of say, this is where experience and knowing when to trade comes into play. Not every day, every week will be a super active week for me. It just goes to show that, I'm happy not taking trades. And I guess you kind of have to be like that. If you have a system, you're not going to be taking trades all the time if things aren't appearing that you want to see, right? So I didn't trade the afternoon session, typically just because it was FOMC, and you never know exactly what you're going to get. It was quite technical. We did trade a 61.8 out of that halfway back, and that did go into I think a same anchor new high. Yes, it did on the close. We opened, traded it, and it has gone full negative 23 from, you have to go same anchor new high. Yeah, you have to wait for those deeper pullbacks, but at that point you're below the weekly open again, so it's just like, how bullish are you? So yeah, I don't think there is honestly much for me to do in this area. I would potentially draw from this low here and wait for a full traditional back down into 20,000. But again, you're just bidding around psychological level. You're below the weekly open. You're at that negative weekly completion. So it is really, really tricky to trade. And of course, if I didn't have my room, it would be so much easier. I probably just would just sit back and not really do much. But more for the education on you guys is I would just really say this is a week where it really does test your patience of just being able to watch price and not necessarily trade it. And if you don't want to have that patience, just sort of walk away. I don't think it's needed to trade every day, every week. And hopefully this is a great example of seeing that, because you're watching me do this in real time, and I'm pretty much saying there isn't really much to do in this area. So obviously, if we do come down to 20,000, I'll jump on the mic and see what we get. But things could change this quickly because of the tariff news, and anything that Trump says could really move the markets, as we saw in the overnight session. So yeah, I'm trying to keep this one fairly short, but I did realize obviously I wasn't on. One thing I have mentioned is yesterday we did actually trade 6% over the 100% 10-day average range. So we traded 106%, which was over that 352 10-day average, which is important because that's showing us range, even though it is still now small because we've come so far. it is starting to increase. So obviously we had this huge ATR day back when we traded 2,600 points, which is why the range has now consolidated before going higher. And on the ES, if we notice, we actually have traded our full 61.8. So we technically are going to at some point retest these highs with that 61.8 breaking. The NQ, we are still waiting for that to come up into, which is there at 20,400 or thereabouts. 20,300. Yeah, 20,300. So that is above us. That will be a level to draw on at some point. But again, risk to reward, it just isn't there for me. So you just have to wait for those deeper pullbacks. So again, sorry for the boring analysis over the past couple of days, if not a week, but it keeps me out of trouble because I can't do anything until we get some cleaner levels. So if there's any questions, let me know in the Discord, but if not, I will end it there and I will put the Zoom screen back on and let you know when I get into any trades.